القيادة السورية على أرواح مواطنينا وأمن بلدنا.
Assad does not have significant military capability.
إذا قتلونا معتادين يحددنا.
Good afternoon. It is Sunday, September 29th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. The Lebanese army carries out patrols and sets up checkpoints in Baalbek a day after 5 people are killed in clashes between Hezbollah and armed men. Maronite Patriarch Shaddai urges officials to have loyalty to their country by ending its crises and keeping it at a distance from the sectarian turmoil. And over 42 people are reportedly killed after gunmen stormed a college dormitory in Nigeria's conflict-scarred northeast, firing on them as they slept. The Lebanese army is carrying out patrols and setting up checkpoints in the eastern city of Baalbek a day after 5 people were killed in clashes between Hezbollah and armed men. The national news agency says there are cautious calm in the Hezbollah stronghold amid a total closure of shops and markets, except for bakeries. Caretaker Interior Minister Marwan Sharbil told Voice of Lebanon Radio that the Army's 6th Battalion took over all Hezbollah checkpoints, mainly the ones set up at the entrances of Baalbek, as part of a deal for the military to restore order in the city. Saturday's gun battles were sparked by a personal dispute, Sharbil said, ruling out sectarian causes. 5 people, including 1 soldier, was killed after clashes broke out between Hezbollah members and a Shia clan following a dispute in Baalbek's Al-Qal'a marketplace. 3 Lebanese soldiers are wounded when a shell from the Syrian side of the northern border hit a military center in Akkar. This is according to the national news agency. The center is located in the border village of Noura in the northern Akkar region. The soldiers were transferred to a nearby hospital. And the state-run NNA also said several shells landed on the outskirts of 3 Akkar border villages, and gunfire, also from the Syrian side, reached the Abudiyeh highway. The border regions with Syria have been the target of shelling and gunfire on several occasions since the uprising began in neighboring country. President Michel Sleiman is postponing a visit he planned to make to Saudi Arabia on Tuesday for talks with top officials in the country. A statement released from his office said Sleiman followed up the security situation in Baalbek and the issue of Lebanese asylum seekers whose boat sank off Indonesia on Friday. The president was briefed on the measures taken by the authorities to deal with the 2 issues. Sleiman is expected to discuss with Saudi officials the government crisis in Lebanon and the repercussions of the war in Syria on the country's stability. Maronite Patriarch Shaddai is urging officials to have loyalty to their country by ending its crises and keeping it at a distance from the sectarian turmoil, accusing them of having a destructing behavior. Politicians should respect Lebanon as a state and people and only have loyalty to it, Rai said in his weekly sermon during a mass he held in Kirke. He said the officials should work on resolving the country's political, economic, and security crises, in addition to distancing it from confessional conflicts and regional axes in accordance with the National Pact and the Babda Declaration. Rai pleaded for coexistence so that the Lebanese could be united. A pharmacist was abducted in East Lebanon this morning, prompting residents to block the road in front of his pharmacy in protest of the kidnapping. Gunmen kidnapped Wissam al-Khatib as he was opening his pharmacy in Krak al-Malke. The national news agency said it was the 2nd attempt to abduct Khatib. Residents gathered near the Khatib pharmacy in the Zahli village and blocked the road in protest of the abduction. Australia is insisting it provided all appropriate assistance to an asylum seeker boat that sank off Indonesia, as the death toll is rising to 28, the majority of them Lebanese citizens. The vessel, carrying an estimated 120 asylum seekers from Lebanon, mainly from the town of Kab'it and Akkar, Jordan and Yemen, sank in rough seas on Friday. He said the death toll from the accident is now 28, including multiple children, with many more passengers unaccounted for. About 20 police, military, and search and rescue officials were sweeping the coast around Agrabinta in West Java province in the hunt for survivors or bodies. Australian Finance Minister Matthias Cormann defended the government's response to the disaster after survivors claimed they had repeatedly called Australian authorities to request assistance and were promised help that never came through. An airstrike on a high school in a rebel-held city of northern Syria has killed 12 people, most of them pupils, according to a monitoring group. The Britain-based group posted video footage showing mangled bodies, one of them lying under school books. The authenticity, however, could not immediately be verified. Raqqa on the Euphrates Valley, 160 kilometers east of the main northern city of Aleppo, is the only capital entirely in rebel hands. Captured from government forces on March 6th, the city is now largely controlled by al-Qaeda loyalists of the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The airstrike came after rebels launched an overnight attack on army positions in Nasiriyah al-Kalamun, north of Damascus, killing at least 19 soldiers and wounding 60 others. Syria is comfortable with the UN Security Council resolution on destroying its chemical weapons and will not discuss the future of President Bashar al-Assad, according to the country's foreign minister. Walid al-Maalem told reporters the resolution voted by the 15-nation council late on Friday meant the opposition could be the target of UN sanctions. Assad's government habitually calls the opposition groups battling to overthrow him terrorists. And the UN resolution allows the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons to start a mission this week to collect and destroy Syria's arms. It does not allow for immediate sanctions under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter in Syria, but there could be a new vote on measures if the disarmament accord is violated. Coming up next, the U.S. House of Representatives brings the federal government closer to a shutdown. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Israel's Shin Bet security service announced the arrest on September 11th of an Iranian spy carrying photographs of the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv. News of the arrest was released just hours after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu left for Washington and New York, determined to expose what he described as just simply sweet talk by Iran. The suspect holding a Belgian passport was sent to Israel by Iran's elite Republican guards and arrested at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion International Airport. The domestic intelligence service identified him as Ali Mansouri, aged 58 years, and said he had enrolled in a special operations unit of the Revolutionary Guards responsible for numerous terrorist attacks around the world. He had been using the fake identity Alex Mans after being recruited last year. This is according to the agency, said naming him and his 4 alleged handlers as senior Iranian officials. In other world news, over 42 people are reportedly killed after gunmen stormed a college dormitory in Nigeria's conflict-scarred northeast, firing on them as they slept. This attack, believed to be carried out by the armed group Boko Haram, targeted the College of Agriculture in the town of Gushba in Yobe State, according to area military spokesman Lazarus Ili. Mulima Idimato of the Yobe State College of Agriculture said that the gunmen also torched classrooms in the attack at about 1 a.m. local time. The college is about 40 kilometers from the scene of similar school attacks around Damaturu town. Security forces were at the scene, but details on the number of injured in the attack are still not available. A police source who requested anonymity said the initial reports indicated the death toll could be high, but he was not prepared to discuss any figures just yet. A car bomb killed at least 33 people in Pakistan's northwestern city of Peshawar. Officials say the third deadly strike to hit the city in 1 week. The bomb caused carnage in the busy Kisakwani market in the city, the gateway to troubled tribal regions, which are a stronghold of militants linked to the Taliban and al-Qaeda. An official at Peshawar's Lady Reading Hospital, Jamil Shah, confirmed the new toll. Local officials said the blast took place near a police station, but they did not initially believe it was the intended target. The blast caused major destruction, toppling a 2-story building and gutting several shops. Human limbs, blood, broken glass, stationery, blood-soaked clothes, and sandals littered the road. Rescuers are still pulling several bodies from a passenger minivan which was passing the explosives-laden vehicle when it exploded. The death toll from the collapse of a residential block in Mumbai, India rose to 60 as rescuers ended their search operation with all the missing accounted for. The 5-story block in the city's east, home to 22 families and owned by the municipal authority, came crashing down in a mass of rubble at daybreak on Friday. 33 others were rescued alive from the rubble. Alok Avasti, an official at the National Disaster Response Force, said from the incident site. But he also said that the death toll may rise depending on whether victims in hospitals succumb to their injuries. Over the 2 days of emergency operations, distraught relatives stood tearfully watching the rescue efforts, hoping family members would be pulled out alive from the twisted wreckage. The United States House of Representatives has brought the federal government closer to a shutdown as it voted to delay President Barack Obama's landmark health care law for a year as part of an emergency spending bill. There is now less than 48 hours to avert a shutdown, which will begin on Tuesday if no spending bill is passed. In a statement issued on Sunday, U.S. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said that after weeks of futile political games from Republicans, we are still at square one. He added that Republican efforts to change the bill that would delay the health care law for a year and repeal a tax on medical devices were pointless. The failure of the bill would close down much of the U.S. government for the first time since 1996. Republicans object strongly to Obamacare, calling it a massive and unnecessary government intrusion into medicine that will damage the economy. Miss Philippines was crowned Miss World 2013 in a glittering finale on the Indonesian resort island of Bali amid tight security following weeks of hardline Muslim protests. As hundreds of hardliners held a prayer session in a mosque near the capital to express their anger at the contest, Megan Young wept as she won the coveted title in the final on Hindu-majority Bali. The 23-year-old, wearing a pearl white gown, promised to be the best Miss World ever in front of a cheering crowd in a venue guarded by heavily armed police and water cannons. Young, who is studying digital media and also presents TV shows in the Philippines, pledged to just be myself in everything I do, to share what I know, and to educate people.
And the winner of Miss World 2013 is Philippines. Before you walk for us, please tell us, what does it feel like? I have a mum who's a Filipina. I'm sure she's going crazy right now. How do you feel?
No words. Salamat sa mga kababayan ko. Mahal na mahal ko kayo. Thank you so much to everyone for choosing me to be in the next Miss World. It really means a lot to me. And I promise to be the best Miss World ever. Thank you.
Miss Philippines, when you spoke to the judges, it seemed extremely heartfelt. And you promised to spread kindness. Tell us now that you finally have got the title, that coveted title wanted by so many, won by so few, what does it feel like and what are the plans now? How are you going to spread the world of Miss World?
You know, I always told everyone that I would just be myself in everything that I do, and to share what I know and to educate people on what they could do also to help is what I'm going to do in this next year. And I'm very, very excited. Salamat talaga sa aking mga kababayan na Pilipino.
It's always good to end the week with a little cheer, and I'm going to remind you of our headlines. Lebanese army carries out patrols and sets up checkpoints in the eastern city of Baalbek a day after 5 people are killed in clashes between Hezbollah and armed men. Maronite Patriarch Shaddai urges officials to have loyalty to their country by ending its crises and keeping it at a distance from the sectarian turmoil. And over 42 people are reportedly killed after gunmen stormed a college dormitory in Nigeria's conflict-scarred northeast, firing on them as they slept. Those are your Sunday headlines live on Future Television in Beirut. I'm Yumna Naufal, wishing you a good week ahead. Goodbye.
من حفظ القيادة السورية على أرواح مواطنينا وأمن بلدنا.
Assad does not have significant military capability.
إذا قتلونا مع